there, welcome back to my island, or if you're new, welcome to my island. Today marks the start of decorating Azurelia, which is the name of this island. The theme is Blue Forest Core, so we're sticking to a traditional Animal Crossing forest vibe, but I'm going to try to use more water, blue items, and many blue flowers. Sometimes I find it a little difficult to make an island color-centric, so this will be somewhat of a challenge for me, so bear with me while I try decorating tactics out. I'm going to be kicking off this series at the back of my island with making a campsite space. I'll be using items that I already have in my home storage, and I will be linking a Pinterest board in the description containing ground patterns and paths I use. So, whether you're here for background noise or for inspiration, I appreciate you being here, and let's get right into it. So, we are starting off with a little cliff building. Because my vision for this campsite is for it to be somewhat sunken into the ground, I had an exact picture in my mind for what I wanted these cliffs to be, so I felt comfortable recording this bit all in one sitting, which is not always the case. I've realized as I begin recording not only this space, but also some future spaces, sometimes I have no idea what I want for the shapes of my cliffs and rivers, and if I can't fix an area, I have to completely undo it. This means that I end up having to delete an hour or more of footage, but also I have to spend a really long time off camera reflattening that section of land. And it's reasons like these that explain why I have to space out my decorating videos so much more. Luckily though, like I previously said, I had a solid idea in my mind for this campsite space, and I pretty much stuck with my first initial outline for the space with only very minor changes. So here I'm making two separate cliff components that get just close enough to form a sort of path space leading to the flat, rocky section by the ocean in the back. And as I'm fleshing out this right cliff, you'll see I get pretty close to the flowers below me, which I promise I do move at some point because they do get in my way quite a bit. And here I'm just continuing to make the cliffs bigger and wider to provide a stable base for a second layer of cliffs to add more height and exaggerate that sunken in look. Okay, and now that I have a rough outline of my space, I'm using dirt pathing to map out where the campsite tent will go. It's a 4x4 building, so I'm just making an L shape to represent that, and I will be experimenting to try and get it even with the cliffs directly behind it. Okay, so quick jump cut off camera to remove some flowers. I'm beginning to add some water into the space. Whenever I build an area close to the edges of the island, I find it difficult to integrate larger rivers naturally into the space, so I tend to use smaller, winding rivers, and those are what I'm making here. I also love to make cascading waterfalls. I think it helps the water look like it comes from a solid origin rather than just popping up randomly on the side of a cliff. So I extend the land upward here so that I can double up on the water, which means widening the base so I can build that second layer. And when connecting these waterfalls, I really didn't like how the water ran horizontally in a straight line right there, because I've learned with water terraforming that curvature tends to look best, but I just decided to hide that line with some bushes, since that was the only way to connect the water. Then, since I've already added bushes, I decided to just dress up the space with a few other plants so that I can go ahead and move on from the right cliff. And because I liked how that other cliff looked with water, I decided to add some over here too for framing purposes, which led to some cliff shape changing. I'm beginning to add more pivotal details in this space, like this fencing, which I used to verify my tent outline is even, which it is not, so I fix it, and then the fence because it was a tile too big. Then I go ahead and use some pathing to solidify this close space back here as an actual trail leading back and not just a random open space. Over to the left of the tent, my original idea was to make a bonfire type of space, but then I found this cute blanket pattern on Pinterest, so I decided to make this more of a hangout space for visitors at the campsite. Once again, I'm experimenting with fences here. I always have trouble meeting the fencing quota for having a 5-star island. For those who don't know, fencing is required for meeting the 5-star island requirement. I think there's some debate on just how much fencing, but I've seen numbers ranging from 50 to 250 pieces, so I'm just going to try to place as much as possible throughout the island. And now I have an inventory full of decorations and I'm ready to start placing down items, so you guys will see me do a lot of picking things up and placing them down and turning them left and right. There's a lot of experimentation in decorating here, so because there's so many thoughts behind my actions, that would lead to me rambling on and on and on, and I'm just going to let you see my implied thought process through my actions and let the music play a bit instead. I will say, most of the items in this space I was satisfied with, but this party lights arch I just hated. I tried so hard to like it. You'll see me run in and out of it like a million times, back and forth. I thought it would be fun, but it was just doing way too much in my opinion, so I do decide to get rid of it later. So a lot has happened between that first clip and this clip. Um, First of all, we have a visitor in the campsite. So this is what the space looks like when the tent is fully up. And then in the campsite, just a few things have been changed. I added a kiddie pool and bubble machine because I thought it would be fun. I switched out campfire cookware for a brick pizza oven, and I have added a few more trees for more of a woodsy feel. Overall, I would say a lot of this space looks more or less the same. You'll notice some mystery cliffs now surrounding the campsite, and those will be explained later. Just know that they will be highly edited and will be used for different buildings and filler areas, so they aren't super important to show for this video. But anyways, I'm just going to add a few more items that I think could go well in this space. I'm just making minor changes here and there, and then I will go ahead and look at the space from a few different angles to make sure I like how it's turned out. Okay, so things look very different, but surprisingly, not too much more has happened, other than the fact that I have time traveled to summer, so you guys can see my island in what will be its ideal season. But now I will take this time to go ahead and explain the cliffs. So I didn't film all of this cliff building because these sections of land are kind of just acting as filler land right now, and I know that at least the cliffs that are directly below the campsite to the right are getting fully redone in a separate video, so I will have footage of that. As for the large square of land, that's more of an idea to hopefully make a really cool large space with. I'm not filming me making the square because its shape is really boring and half of it's being gotten rid of. The purpose it serves is so that when I make the space I have an idea for, I can sort of take carvings out of the square piece of land so that I don't have to freehand such a large space, since I'd want that space to be symmetrical. I've also decided that leading back to the campsite will be this cute bridge. I was originally going to make a small path between cliffs, but I decided against that for instead incorporating more water into the space, and I liked the curvature and color of the Zen bridge, so this is likely the kind of bridge I will primarily use. But this is what the campsite looks like in the summer. I don't think there have been any major changes as far as decorating goes. I just wanted to show what this space would look like during my ideal season. But yeah, in the future, all spaces will be decorated in the summer, so the hydrangea bushes that I use can be in full bloom, adding even more blue to the space. I think off camera I will replace a few apple trees with regular ones to tone down the red by that like birdhouse area, but overall I'm really satisfied with what I've done here and I think this looks pretty good. So here's me just running through everything one last time, and then I'll get a look at the space from a vantage point in the cliffs, which will later be changed. Originally, I thought this section of these cliffs up here could make a really nice picnic area overlooking the campsite, but unfortunately, since the cliffs have now been removed, like I said, I didn't really like the space. That was just a nice thought. It is a really good angle for the purpose of this video, though. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it as a small creator. The next video I believe will be making a space for the museum, and I have some cute ideas in mind for that, so stay tuned. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!